You're listening to the StudioPTBO podcast, where we talk all things marketing to help you build and grow your business online. Welcome to the latest episode.
And welcome to the StudioPTBO podcast. We are back, and we're back at it again. Just Neil and I today. Neil, my man, how you doing? You got a nice little setup going there on the StudioPTBO podcast today. Everything good? How you doing?
I'm excellent, brother. I had a great weekend. Did a lot of canoeing. Played a lot of tennis. Just keep moving. Keep moving. And I'm a little more glossy now. So thanks for hooking me up with the Cody May standard of a podcast. So you don't look now you don't look too much glossier than I do anymore.
I'm trying. Yeah, I know. We try to even it out. And today we just want to hop on here really quickly and just chat about how you're the sum of the five people you spend the most time with. So I'm really curious to know, Neil, what are your thoughts on this? It's been a really interesting couple of weeks about just a lot happening in the world, but also a lot happening just even in our own ecosystem. So I'm really curious to know, your thoughts on accountability, and I kind of want to riff with you a little bit about accountability, but riff with you about your environment and, the sum of the five people that, that's really a common saying. It happens a lot. Some of the five people you spend the most time with, if you want to get fit, you hang around fit people. You want to get wealthy, you hang around wealthy people. It really, your ecosystem really matters. And I know that you're a really big networking guy. So I'm curious your thoughts on this topic, your thoughts on this concept.
Yeah, totally. Now the sum of the five people has been around forever, it seems, but some people don't discover it until their later years. Some people might not see it or read it or figure it out until, in my case, it sort of happened a bit later when I was part of the entrepreneurship journey, and networking and finding your ecosystem and finding your tribe, so to speak. And what it means to me is there is a misconception about it, Cody. Some people say, well, why would you want to hang out with five people that always are, saying, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, Neil. Everything you're doing is right. And that's not the point. What I say is you want to hang out with positive people, inspiring people, innovative people, but people that challenge you still, people that make you better. Like, you are part of my ecosystem, Cody. You're part of my five, and it's like we're always challenging each other to be better. So that's one of the sort of misconceptions about the whole positivity aspect of when we say find your tribe, is challenge people, but find people that aren't always like, well, why am I going to do this? Or find people that aren't apathetic and negative. And sort of, unfortunately, you have to sort of sometimes eliminate them from your friend zone or colleague zone or, entrepreneurial ecosystem, because it's going to bring you down.
Yeah, no, and I totally hear you there. I think that one of the things that often happens in just in life is people are like, oh, this happened in the past, or, this is where I came from. And they have a hard time kind of breaking out of the mentality of how do I even find these people? And really today I want to chat about a few tactics and a few tools that you can actually do and actually find these people. Because really early on when I started my entrepreneurial career, I literally just reached out to people and I started just literally DMing people to really network. And it's really interesting. When I started to network and I started to go out to networking events, to connect with other business owners and other entrepreneurs, I started to realize that people are fairly receptive to, grabbing, now it could be a virtual coffee, but people, business owners are fairly receptive to be able to sit down and say, hey, can I pick your brain for, 20, 30 minutes? And I think it's a really great opportunity to build new relationships, or, jump in Facebook groups and build online relationships. I now have this global network across the world through Cat's community, and, not being afraid to invest into a community of people that you can lean on. And that's really what your Cat's community has become to me, and it's become to our ecosystem, is being able to be connected with other like-minded agency owners, that when we're going through something, whether it be a really tough agency client or a really tough time, we have the ability to lean on the collective wisdom of other people and be surrounded with people that are A, like-minded, but B, push you and challenge you. And this is something that I've chatted about recently in the past little while, is you need to give, you need to give people the ability to speak into your life. Accountability, I think, is something that is often missed in our culture right now, about just having the ability to have, that core 5 people be like, tell you when you're being an idiot. And I think that's so important. Like, I know that you and I have that relationship where, we quite often will say, hey man, like, have you thought about doing things this way? Or, just opening it up for questions. One of the best things I heard really, really early on in my, prior to my entrepreneurial career, and you and I were chatting about this earlier, was there was a pastor that said a long time ago that there's a lot of gray areas in the world. And it's like in your moral compass, it might not be the right thing, it might not be the wrong thing to do. And it's kind of it could be that thing that falls in the gray area where it's like, based on your values, you're unsure whether you should do this. And the best question that this pastor said to ask was, what is the wise thing to do? And I think that is something that, really is, I've tried to allow to guide my life. If this might not be wrong, might not be right, but what is the wise thing to do? And I think that element is to, that internal element, but there's internal accountability. But I think the other element of that is there's external accountability that's super important. And I think that's where the 5 people come in, like where it's like, who are you allowing to speak into your life to allow you to become, better at, if you want to run, become a better runner. If you want to be a better business person, become a better business person. If you want to just be an overall around better person, who are the people that you're allowing to speak in your life to, that when you stray from the path and you stray from, the person that you want to be, the highest version of yourself, how can you really become that person? I'll give you an example. Like, I think that really early on in this whole COVID pandemic thing, I really got up in arms and I got really scared and I wasn't acting myself. And I was just like, I was leading the team, not in the way that I knew I was meant to lead the team. And I was like making very rash decisions in the first week or two, being like, oh, we're going this way, we're going this way. And then one of my guys like that, I give the ability to speak my life, pulled me aside and said, hey, I don't think you're making decisions like you, you're not acting with inside of your character. And quickly I was able to pivot. And, when I was able to pivot, we've experienced crazy growth. But I think that there are people in your ecosystem or in your world that if you were to just give them if you were to sit down and have that conversation and say to them, hey, when I'm not being myself or I'm not acting inside of my character and you know me the best, I'm giving you the ability to speak into my life. I'm giving you the, I want to be accountable to you. I do that even with my mother, like with working out, like, hey, my mom's a big fitness guru. So I'm like, hey, hold me accountable. I need to, I want to be a long distance runner again. And I am a long distance runner. Hold me accountable to that. So I think accountability is key.
Yeah, I agree. And shout out to your mom, Lisa. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. And I agree. It's like, there's such a thing as trusting your instincts, but sometimes you can't always know in the moment, whether it's a client or whether it's something happening in the world or, in your family or who knows. But it's really neat, like you said, to be able to lean on the people in your ecosystem that you really trust. The know, like, and trust factor is so important for you to be able to text them or call them, you and I to reach out to each other or other people in our tribe. And it's not just 5 people. It's like, the 5 for you probably initially in Peterborough has now become 10, 15, 20, 25, because you've gone from this local version of Cody, network your ass off, to a global version now. It's pretty fascinating and how quickly it's happened for you and accelerating that sort of knowledge and subject expertise and network that you've built up globally through all your learnings and findings and actually listening, right? Listening and reading, consuming podcasts, reading a book a week, meeting new people. And it really makes you feel like you're never sort of on your own island anymore, no matter what. And you have, again, these people that are there for you as supports. They're there to give you a hug. But guess what? As you and I said in our fireside chats, when the pandemic started, they're also there. Simon Bowen said this to us. They're there to give you a hug, but they're there to give you a push too. And be better, right? Pivot and be better, be stronger, be more resilient. No excuses. You got to move on with whatever happens to us in life. So for me, it's been an absolute game changer. I've told you that from the first day I met you. It's been a now game changer for you. The first time I said network your ass off, you've never forgotten that, have you?
Yeah, no, it's something that like I haven't forgot at all, because it's opened up a brand, like you mentioned, it's opened up a brand new ecosystem of people that, like you mentioned, like I was originally accountable to a group of people in Peterborough, and that group is extended. And like, it's interesting when you open yourself up for accountability and you open up yourself to listen more and to be the dumbest person in the room, because what ends up happening is you end up picking up different things that different people really hold true to their agency or hold true to their life or to their business. And you're like, oh, if I would just shift perspective and just do things differently this way. And I'll use sales as an example. I heard a really good podcast the other day, because I love that you referenced listening to more podcasts and getting around, reading more books, because I think that's something that's super important to really even hold yourself accountable to learn and become a more critical thinker. I think that reading allows you to become that critical thinker, to allow you to ask that question of like, is this the wise thing to do? And coming back to that, like, being able to really think outside the box and be able to really challenge myself at a higher level, I think is something that's so important, because you begin to open your eyes up to be like, okay, so this is what Kat is doing in Australia, and this is what Karen is doing in Austin, Texas. And the more that you open your mind up to be able to give them the ability to actually speak into your life, whether it be a mentor, or whether it be a friend, or whether it be a business partner, I just think that this idea of accountability is something that is so missed in our culture, that if people were to just implement this, like start with networking and then implement accountability, I think that a lot of the issues that we face in the world right now would be really solved by just giving someone the ability to tell you you're being an asshole, or tell you you're being an idiot in that specific moment. Again, how do we live above reproach? How do we remain more accountable? How do we get around more people? All these things are fairly simple, but I find they're sometimes super hard for people to really grasp. And I think it's just having the conversation. I think everything within, being the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with and becoming that person, that better version of yourself, starts with you just, having the conversation with that person that you want to be like.
Totally. And yeah, to finish up here, that's what I would say is you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself out there. You have to make the ask. You have to go to events. Obviously, physical events aren't happening right now, but go to a virtual event. Go to a virtual coffee event that the chamber is hosting, or someone in your local community. Or get an online coach, or join a group of some kind. I tell people, I have different pods for different projects I'm working on that are in my ecosystem. I've got various projects I'm working at, community stuff, level stuff outside of just business, and they're all different groups, but same sensibility, same ethos, same approach to like creative ingenuity, innovation. We are going to make shit happen no matter what. Pandemic be damned, this or that's going to happen. So what I'd say to finish up, and I think you'd agree, Cody, is because you start somewhere, make an ask, join something, and then you get your confidence.
Yeah, Neil, thanks for talking to me about this topic. I think it's super timely based on like what's going on in the world, but even just based on like, living a higher sense of version of yourself, I think is the best way to put it. And, I think networking and accountability play hand in hand. I think there's something that's super important, making the ask, getting connected with more people. Neil, thank you for hopping on today with me. And thank you everyone for tuning into another episode of the StudioPTBO podcast. We have tons of guests coming on, and we just wanted to hop on here really quickly today, just chat about this, something that's been on our mind, something Neil and I have been riffing about. So thank you once again. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur that is looking to grow and scale in the online space, love to have you inside the StudioPTBO Marketing Hacks group. It's full of entrepreneurs, business owners that are just really building their business. Literally, all you have to do is search into the search engine on Facebook, StudioPTBO Marketing Hacks. You can join there. We're actually live inside that group right now. Some people that hopped on, some people that have commented. Really just appreciate your attention more than anything. Thank you for tuning in to the StudioPTBO podcast. We will see you soon.